Hello, good evening, Professor Vance. Hilda here. Sorry for the delay. It's been busy and, you know, things happen. Anyway, we're going to do our video, all right? Let's hit to it. Today we have Mr. Skeleton here as the model, and we're going to start with the actual skeleton, and we're looking for the the nasal bone, which is the inner part of the eye, right in here. Then we're going to look for the sphenoid, which is the inner part of the eye as well, but right next to the nose in this side area. Then we're going to go to the lacrimal bone, which is also, all of these bones are tiny bones and right on top of each other, and they're in this cavity right here. We're going to look for the ethmoid bone, which is right above the sphenoid, because ethmoid bone is right up here. And then we're going to look for the zygomatic bone, which is out here, the outer part of the cheeks. Next, we're going to go for the maxilla, which is right below the nose, right over here. We're going down to the mandible, right here. This is our mandible, right here. Then we have our frontal, which is our forehead right here. Then we have the vomer bone, which is dead center right below the nose. That's the vomer right there. Then for the posterior view, we're going to turn our Mr. Skeleton over here. And then here we go, Mr. Skeleton, and the posterior view of the mandible will be this right here, right? Then we're looking for the occipital right there. We're looking for the parietal side, which is the suture over here, which you can't really see from the posterior view. This is what you see. Next, we're looking for the temporal, which is right above the mastoid. So temporal will be right here. Then we're looking at the lateral view, which is the side view of our Mr. Skeleton right here. And then there, we're looking for the ethmoid bone again, and I guess it would be right around there. Then we're looking for the frontal bone up here. This is the lateral view. The lacrimal bone, which is close to the side, like right there on this side of that side of the nose. That's where the lacrimal bone is. We're looking for the mandible again. That's what we're looking at right here on the side. Next, we're looking for the maxilla, and this is the lateral view right there. The nasal bone, of course, right there, ridge of the nose. The occipital bone, this is what we get on the lateral side, or the lateral skull view. Then we have the parietal right in this area. Next, we have the temporal, which is right there. Zygomatic bone, which is the cheekbone right there. Then we're going to have to go and get a close-up for the inferior skull, which is, let's pop his head over here. Oops, we've got some labels in there already from our last assignment. So we're looking for the ethmoid bone. Like I said, it's right in that cavity right there. Then we're looking for the frontal, which is right over here towards the front. Next, we have the occipital, which is the back. And then the parietal, always on the side. The sphenoid bone, which is at the greater wing of the middle skull towards the front. So there we go right there, sphenoid right there, okay? And then the temporal bone, which is at the base sides of the skull. So our temporals are right there. And then last but not least, now we're going to go to the vertebral column right here. We're trying to get this under the allotted time. Hopefully we can get it done. I know it's a little fast, but here we go. So we're looking for our atlas bone. Our atlas bone is right there, which is our C1, the first one from the vertebrae. Then we're looking for the axis, which is our C2, which is right where the other, where the atlas hooks into. Next, we have the cervical vertebrae, which is right here, all of our neck ones. Then we have our coccyx, which is down here. Then we have our lumbar vertebrae, which is the lower part of our back. We have our sacrum right there. Then we have our thoracic, which is the middle part of the vertebrae right here. Then we're going to turn Mr. Skeleton over here, and we're going to do the, it's called the body of the sternum in the thoracic cage, which will be right there. Then we have we're looking for the false ribs. Now the false ribs are the ones that connect to the cartilage. So those are called false ribs. Then we have our floating ribs, which are the last two ribs over here because they are only connected to the vertebrae. So that's why they're called floating ribs. I don't know if you could tell. They are not connected to the front. They are not connected to cartilage. Those are our floating ribs. Sorry, floating ribs, false ribs. False ribs are right over here, okay? And then we have the manubrium of the sternum, which is right there. Then we have our true ribs, which is the ones that are solidly connected to the vertebrae over here. They're connected to the rib cage as well. And then that is what we have there for the thoracic cage. Then we have the appendicular skeleton over here, which we have our clavicles right here. We need our humerus right here. We also have our radius right here. We also need our scapulae or scapula. Those are the shoulder blades right here. Okay, sorry, Mr. Skeleton. Those are the scapula. Then we have our ulnar, which is the one that connects right here to the wrist. Okay. Next we have the hand and wrist. So the hands and wrists are very tricky, and those are right here. So we have our capitate, which is the dead center of the wrist. Then we have the hamate, which is at the right bone next to the pinky, right there. Then we have the lunate, which is the middle bone right there, directly behind the lunate, the luminate. Then we have the scaphoid, which is the one that connects to the wrist bone right there. We have our sesamoid, which is next to the wrist joint. Sesamoids are right there next to the wrist joint. Then we have the trapezium, which is next to the tubercle by the thumb. The trapezium right there by the thumb right there. Metacarpal, which is the upper bones of the fingers, which is right there. Then we have the phalanges, which is this part right here. And then the metacarpals, which are again the parts right here, metacarpals right there. Then we need we have our pisiform. It's called the pisiform, and that's the little bones right there. Then we have our trapezoids, which is next to the thumbs. Then we have our truncatrium, which is behind the pisiform, right over here in this area next to the pinky. That is for the hand and wrist, and we're trying to get this as fast as we can. I know, sorry. Now we're going to go to the pelvic girdle, and then we are looking for the ilium, and that is the ilium right here. The ilium, that is the big part of the ilium right there. Then we have the ischium, which is right there, ischium. Then we have the pubic bone, which is at the bottom right here. Then we have our femur, which is our big bone. Then we have the patella, knee bone, the tibia, which is our shin bone, and the fibula, which is our smaller bone. And last but not least, we have the ankle and foot bones. And we have our calcaneus right here in the back. We have the cuboids, which are right there. Those are the cuboids. And then we have our intermediate, we have our lateral, and we have our medial cuneiforms, which are all right here. All of those right there. Then we have our metatarsals, and then naviculars, and the phalanges, and our talus back here. I hope that wasn't too confusing and too unclear. Thank you very much.